Stop 2 in Colombia. I'm in Boulevard Square in Tunja. And if you stay tuned, you'll find out why I stopped here. I think it's going to be interesting. So today I'm at Puente de Boyacá. This is where the most pivotal... Hey, that's a hard word for a hillbilly. Okay, let's cut that and try again. Today I am visiting Puente de Boyacá, and you may see the eternal flame behind me for the patriots. In many cases gave their lives here. This was a pivotal battle in the revolution or the War of Independence for Gran Colombia. It was at this point that Boulevard and Santander managed to capture the bridge and encircle the Royalist forces, of which they captured. So basically the war was over at this point because there was no one really left to defend Bogota. And this bridge stands at the place of the original, and maybe there are some original foundations down there, but this is a reconstruction. But at any rate, this is the battle site. And now let's cut away momentarily for a brief word from our sponsor. I tried to give thanks to the people who made this all possible. Yes, my wonderful fans that came rafting with me and left me those generous tips that made this all possible. And I'm trying to give back, and the theme this year is Colombian history, Gran Colombia, which includes Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, and even northern Peru and Bolivia. I want to give something back to you, so I got a special offer I want to let you in on. So if you would like 30% off your next rafting adventure with me, you need to act between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. That's right, this is a limited time offer from my outpost, and it's good for 2023. If you're watching this later, it might not apply. But if you're trying to get savings on the 2024 Ocoee River rafting season, the time is now to act. I will have a link and details with fine print in the description below, so make sure you read it. I will attempt to explain it verbally though. Follow the provided link and buy your gift certificate. If you're taking a group of 6 down the middle of Ocoee, you want to click the add button till you get to a number of 6. That will cover the cost of a middle Ocoee trip. If you'd like to go for the full Monte and my favorite Ocoee experience, and you got a group of 6, then you will need to click the plus button till you get up to 12, because it's a double trip. There's 2 5-mile sections rather than just one. The first 5-mile section has some really fun class 4. And no, there is no class 4 on the middle of Ocoee, only the upper Ocoee. So if you want the real thrills, come raft with me on the upper, or the full river rather. Okay, one more caveat. It is going to ask you for a date. You can put in any date. I suggest putting in Monday, September 2nd, 24, because that is Labor Day. Of course, only the middle of Rome that day, but that doesn't matter. You can put in any date you want during 2024, because you're going to need to call in and make your request. You're going to have to convert your, okay, I'm having a silly take. You're going to have to convert your gift certificate into an actual trip booking. Please don't forget to request me when you convert your gift certificate to an actual booking when you call up OAC and actually schedule your trip. Tell them you want Fast Fred. I'll be glad to serve you and show you a great time. I neglected to tell you, you have to enter the promo code at checkout, FRI30, like as in Friday 30. And now, back to the real show. Thus far, I have been in Colombia just shy of 2 weeks. So I got a little over 2.5 months left on my visa before I'll cross the land border into northern Ecuador. This was one of my planned stops from the very beginning, much like I started off with Templo Mayor at the beginning of last year's endless summer in Mexico City. In that case, to see where some of the conquistadors were sacrificed to someone else's god, or rather, should I say, had the honor of dying for someone else's god that they gave to so many indigenous people throughout the Americas. And I think you can dig the theme of this one isn't hugely different, only this one's about how the people of the Americas drove the Spaniards out of South America in particular, especially the Andes in the northern part of the continent. Although if you talk to the locals, they will tell you America is one continent, that North and South America is the continent of America. Seems fair enough to me. If this subject is of interest to you and you'd like to learn more, I strongly suggest watching the Boulevard series on Netflix. I will warn you that they take certain liberties with facts and history to make it a much more interesting story. But all in all, it is pretty straight shooting. They just bend a few things to make them more interesting and kind of like a novello. A lot of people might not be aware there were some gringos involved in the liberation of Gran Colombia, including Colonel James Ruddock, who fought in the War of Independence for Colombia. So during the War of Independence here in Colombia, Gran Colombia in particular at the time, there were people from various countries involved, including Ireland, Britain, people from some of the British holdings in the Caribbean, and even some folks from Baltimore, Maryland. It's very diverse, and if you've been following along, you may have gotten a hint this was coming because I touched upon it in some of my posts from the National Museum in Bogota, where I showed some pictures of newspaper clippings from the era. So these are the flags of the Pueblos and the people who took part in the battle for independence in this part of Colombia. Oh boy, ain't quite the day. I took an Uber over to the bridge. You can see the battlefield. And then I flagged down a autobus or a bus on the way back, took it to terminal, caught a taxi at the terminal to a local strip mall, and I'm gonna get me a chicken burger combo, and then I head back to town. I'm really close to where I started at this point. It's been quite the day, and maybe I'll show you a few outtakes. I think I can cheat you out of the best part of me stumbling and headbutting the roof of the autobus for my ride back to town. By the way, an excellent way to get better at Spanish is riding around in Uber and the taxis. Many of the drivers are very friendly and they will chat you up. They keep telling me my Spanish game better while I tell them it isn't so good. But I am enjoying the ride and all the great free Spanish lessons you get when you travel solo in places where no one speaks English, or very, very few. Have bad things happened here? Yes, indeed. But that could be said about a lot of places. This is a monument to martyrs. Sometimes there aren't any winners, but Colombia is much better today.